Hi, and welcome to Esther's Gardening Adventures. I'm Esther, and in this episode of my Winter Sowing 101 series, I'm going to talk about signs for how to know when your jugs, once you've put them outside, need some water. But before I get into those details, let me mention, if this is your first time hearing about winter sowing or you want to know more about the process, please check out the other videos in this series where I break down everything I can think of that you need to know. I'm going to take you outside and show you the jugs that I have sown as an example. But before I do that, let me talk a little bit about the theory behind how the water works for jugs. I talk about this a little bit in episode 1 of this series, but I think I can go into a little more detail. So you obviously start off by having moist soil when you put the jugs out. You start off with moist soil, you add water, all of that. You put the jugs out, and if the soil has enough moisture in it, the temperature difference between the inside of the jug and the outside is going to cause condensation to gather on the inside, the top insides of the jugs, and the water is going to flow down into the soil and keep it moist. And it is this greenhouse effect, right? It's this self-hydrating system. In addition to that, obviously, the rain and snow and other things that happen while the jugs are outside will also keep the moisture levels high. But there are times when the jugs do dry out. And there are a number of reasons that can happen. Some common options are maybe you live in a really windy area, or it's a really windy time and it just dries the soil out faster. Sometimes pieces of the tape come loose and the wind gets through the middle of the jug where you cut it and it dries it out faster. Or sometimes maybe it's so hot that things evaporate faster, or maybe even the plants are absorbing all of the moisture themselves. There's all kinds of reasons. So the first way to tell whether your jugs have enough water, are moist enough, is whether they are creating their own moisture inside. Here you can see the water bubbles. You tap on it and the water's coming down the sides of the jug, and that means that it has plenty of water, more than enough. Even this one, you can see water droplets on the side. Now this one, oh no, see, that's fine too. Now this one doesn't have any moisture, and that's because I just put it out here 10 minutes ago. That was the last video I did. But this is to give you an idea. Let's say I sowed this a week ago and I come out and it looks this dry on the outside. I would spritz in, or I would pour some water down the sides to fill it up. You can also take something like, a bucket of water. This is too small for this, but you can put it in the bucket of water to help moisturize the soil. Don't put it in too deep because you don't want to have everything floating in your jug, but that gives you an idea. One other thing you can do, in addition to looking for the moisture, is to test the weight of your jugs. Do they feel heavy? If their water is heavier, right? If they have a good amount of moisture in them, they'll be heavier compared to the others. So those are two ways to tell if your jugs need more moisture and they're drying out. Two additional ways to test or to get a sense for whether your jugs need to be watered is to look inside the jugs and see whether the soil is very light in shade. If it's light colored, then there is a high chance that it is not saturated in moisture because the soil is darker when it is. In addition, you can look and see if the soil is cracking. If it's cracking, chances are pretty high that it's really dry. I hope this video was helpful to you. If you found it interesting, please hit the like button. If you have any of your own thoughts on the best ways to kind of water your jugs or other things that might work, or questions, please let me know. And if you aren't already a subscriber and you enjoy this kind of content, please consider subscribing and make sure you hit the alert button, so the little bell, so that you get alerts when I post new videos. Otherwise, I will see you next time.